So when I tell my friends and family I'm building a DIY travel camper to take on the road, they all have the same question. Are you allowed to do that? Everyone thinks you need some sort of special permit or safety inspection to build your own RV. Apparently not. I found there's not many rules and regulations if you're building a small camper under 3,000 pounds. In this video, you'll see how I refurbished this crusty old trailer frame to make it a bona fide roadworthy platform for building a tiny cabin on wheels. And hopefully, fingers crossed, get it registered with a license plate. I can't think of a better way to see America and take the people I love the most with me, or bug out to an undisclosed location if things go sideways. Have you ever seen that zombie apocalypse movie, World War Z? There's a scene where Brad Pitt is holed up for the night in an apartment with some random family he just met. And he says, I used to work in dangerous places.
And people who moved survived, and those who didn't. Movimiento es vida. Movimiento es vida. You have a better chance if you come with us.
Spoiler alert. Disregarding Brad's advice turned out to be unwise. Movement is life. Something to keep in mind. You know, just in case. Anyway, a few years ago I got this itch to build a tiny cabin, and my first instinct was to make it a THOW, or tiny house on wheels. But I didn't have a tow vehicle at the time, so instead I built this funky little half A-frame, making it the centerpiece of a little backyard homestead, where I grow my own food, collect rainwater, and prepare to live off-grid. Watch my other videos to see all that. Now that I've got a proper truck, I can take everything I learned building that cabin, revisit the original idea, and go mobile. This is the first of what will be a start-to-finish series. Since I really don't have much experience with welding and metal fabrication, I decided it would be best to use an existing camper trailer as a building platform. You can find plenty of old trailers on Facebook Marketplace with no title, especially over the border in Wisconsin where they don't need to be registered. But here in Illinois, even a utility trailer needs a license plate. So I decided to avoid the hassle altogether and pay a little more for one that comes with an original title. I found this here 11 foot by 7 foot stripped down trailer frame. The title says it's a 1965 Tawas camper. When it was originally built, it probably looked a lot like one of these. Now my wife doesn't really care for the look of those rounded aluminum-sided canned ham style trailers. So this is not going to be a retro restoration. We both kind of like a more rustic cabin vibe. Maybe not quite as extreme as this, but also not this. I'm still working on a final design, so if you have any ideas or suggestions, share them down in the comments. You're almost certain to get a like or a heart in response. Now every old trailer restoration is going to be a little different, depending on its condition. All in all, what remains of the camper trailer I bought is in pretty good shape. It's nice and square, it has a built-in doorstep, and at some point it was retrofitted with surge brakes, like on a boat trailer. I hoped I could get away with just a quick paint job, but after taking a look at the brakes and a few other things, it became clear there was more work to do, especially if I want it to last another 60 years. I've done some automotive work before, but there were things I had to learn for this project. Here's a quick rundown of everything I did to bring this trailer back to life. I started by repacking the bearings and replacing the grease seal on both wheels. This is basic maintenance that should be done every year. I've never done it before, so it's something I needed to learn by watching some how-to videos on YouTube. The wheel hubs and suspension, including the axle and leaf springs, all looked in pretty good shape to me. Just a little surface rust. So I hit those areas with some rust reformer. The crusty old drum brakes were removed and replaced with all new ones from Amazon. I'll put a link to those in the description. The white rims had some rust bubbles in a few spots, so they got a new coat of paint too. I like the black. The rest of the frame got a couple of coats of Edmunds rust encapsulator. The previous owner welded some angle irons to the frame. I assume it was a well-intended attempt to reinforce and strengthen it, but they got in the way of the wheel wells and the fenders I was going to add, so I removed them and drilled some new holes. Of course, new brakes call for all new brake fluid lines, so I watched a few more YouTube videos and taught myself how to bend, double flare, and connect hydraulic tubing. Then I filled it up with new fluid and bled the lines, another thing I've never done before. I bolted a cedar split rail to the bumper, partly as reinforcement and to cover up some minor damage, but mostly just to add some rustic character. Added a spare tire mount. Okay, now that the trailer frame is roadworthy, we can start building the camper deck. I'm using these old vintage travel trailer plans as a general reference. They're mostly from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. The old school construction methods, framing, and interior layout diagrams are really helpful. My favorites are the smaller 14 to 18 foot trailers you can tow without a full-size truck. I put a link down in the description where you can get them. The trailer I bought is about 18 inches shorter and a little bit wider than the plans I'm referencing, so I bit the bullet and learned SketchUp 3D modeling software to make the adjustments. Now, I don't know why I waited so long to start using SketchUp. Once you get the hang of it, you can build everything virtually and do all of your trial and error before making the first cut. I highly recommend it. So with a cut list based on the SketchUp model, I could buy the lumber and get to work building the deck. Okay, I'm going to the DMV to see if I can get a license plate for this baby. Okay, here we go. I'm headed to the DMV to see if I can get a license plate. So apparently, these days in Illinois, it is harder to get into the DMV than it is to get a doctor's appointment. This is my third try. Wish me luck. Third time's the charm. So the plan is to use the utility trailer plate while I'm still building it so I can pull it around without any problems. And then once it's all finished, once I can show the cabinetry and the sleeping quarters and the cooking facilities, then it's easier to convert the registration from utility trailer to an RV. At least that's what I'm told. But what do I know? I'm just a big guy in a tiny house. With any luck, by this time next year, we'll be hitting the road in rustic, shanty chic style.